Hey, welcome back to our special. I want to go right to our next guest, Cully Stimson, Senior Legal Fellow at the Wonderful Heritage Foundation. He's also the author of the book, Rogue Prosecutors, How Radical Soros Lawyers Are Destroying America's Communities. Indeed. Mr. Stimson, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me back.
The question of the day, do you think that Judge Marchand will send Donald J. Trump to prison?
You know, it's an amazing question to even pose to a person in America in 2024. Sadly, I think there's an outside chance he will do that. And I mean, he shouldn't have sat on the case in the first place for reasons we can talk about. But I think that this guy has proven himself to be a person that does not have the judicial demeanor or judgment to sit on this case. And so can I envision him trying to sentence the president to jail? Yeah, I can.
Amazing. Let's maybe we can swing back around to Judge Marchand, but let's go to Alvin Bragg. What do we need to know about this DA?
So on one level, Alvin Bragg did have a good background and experience to be an elected DA. He was a federal prosecutor. He has a good education. He worked as a prosecutor. And typically when you're a prosecutor, and I've been one, and I've been a defense attorney and a judge, you want to prosecute cases. And so the problem begins that when he ran for DA, he ran partly on a platform to go after and indict former President Trump. He didn't indicate what crimes he committed. He essentially suggested he'd find the crime later on if they elected him. And so that's why we dedicated a whole chapter in our book to Alvin Bragg, because he should have been a prosecutor's prosecutor, and he's anything but, given the policies he issued when he first took office and what he's done and crossed a Rubicon that no other county DA has done in the history of our country.
Have you ever seen a DA ever run on vote for me and I will find a crime for this person?
No. I've seen DAs, and there's 2,300 elected DAs across the country, so I'm not familiar with the campaign platforms for all of them, say, you know, I'm going to crack down on violent crime, or I'm going to focus on this type of crime. But I've never seen them single out a person and say, I'm going to go after Bobby or Susie here if you elect me, because that's purely inappropriate. That's probably violative of state bar ethics rules. But of course, the New York State Bar is going to give this guy cover 6 ways to Sunday.
At least I'd give Alvin Bragg a little credit if he said, I'm going to go after business ledger, business classification, bookkeeping errors across New York City, and then at least you have some credibility there. What do you think drives, and maybe we can back up to George Soros too, or you can stay on Alvin Bragg specifically, but what do you think drives him? Like, what is this desire? I must get him no matter what.
You know, Alvin Bragg's not unique. There are people who just loathe Trump, people on the left, and they will use whatever means they can, legal or illegal or questionable legal theories, to do that and use the law and twist the law in a way to try to hold former President Trump accountable for alleged crimes. I mean, to think that he's charged him essentially with misdemeanor business falsification records whose statute of limitations have run, but to elevate that to a felony to prove another crime, but then refuse to indicate to the defense what that other crime was, and then have a judge play along with that, even when the defense files a motion for a bill of particulars, basically saying, by the way, what are we supposed to defend against? And the judge didn't allow them to do that. So there are major due process considerations here that were potentially violated. The appeals court will have that and 10 or 12 other issues that the defense will file on appeal. But the damage has been done. We've now crossed a Rubicon that has never been crossed before, and that is a local county elected DA has gone after a former president. And I think you're unfortunately may see other DAs now wading into that sordid pool.
Yes, I want to talk about that. Is there an argument to be made that now we need some conservative DAs I know when I used to live in San Diego, there's a good conservative DA out there. She's not an activist by any means, but okay, right? She's one of the few maybe conservative, whatever. There's some conservative DA out there. Can he go after or she go after Fauci for going around FOIA requests? Let's get him. That's a crime. You can't get out around Freedom of Information Act requests. Can we prosecute him? The process is the punishment, right?
Right, and you're referring to Summer Stephan, who's a personal friend and great district attorney in San Diego, where my wife worked as a DA. She's a prosecutor's prosecutor, incredibly fair. She would never weaponize the law for political gain. She never has and she never will. But there are other people, potentially, who might feel the need or desire or the green light to do just that as a way of retribution or political get back at a former Democratic president. I hope that doesn't happen. But now we've seen Fani Willis in Atlanta go after the president for exercising what I think are his First Amendment rights to contest an election that he thought was unfair to him. And we've seen Alvin Bragg's charade in New York. So what's to stop one of the 2,300 other elected DAs? For example, what about a DA in one of the many counties in Texas prosecuting former President Biden whenever he leaves office for saying your border policy has caused death and destruction in our county, and we've lost people to murder by illegal aliens. You should have known about it. It was reckless for you to do that. You were warned about it. You didn't do it, so we're charging you with manslaughter. What's to stop any of them from coming up with some cockamamie theory and getting it past a grand jury and a judge? Nothing.
So some will say we need to do that because that will right the wrongs and we can all like call truce and be like, all right, enough of that. But that can very easily spiral out of control. What does America look like if that's the road we go down and it's just game on?
It looks like the way Rome ended. Rome ended in essence because they weaponized the law against each other, and it resulted in the end of a great Republican country. And so I hope that people exercise their better angels in judgment and simply say, look, we're better than that, and we're not going to do what they did. And I hope the appeals courts takes very seriously the many grounds of appeal, not only including the change of venue, the lack of the judge recusing himself from the case, even though he donated to the Biden-Harris campaign, his daughter works for Biden, not allowing the defense to have knowledge of what the charge was, the other crime was, until the end of the trial, and on and on and on. And so I think Democrats and Republicans are good DAs around the country, and people should stand down and not think about retribution and let these cases fall on their face and use that as the example of why not to do it.
Cully Stimson, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Mr. Stimson, thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks for having me.